Let's bring in my good friend, Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Joe. What do you have for us today?
Hey, Ray. How's it going this week?
It's going terrific, my friend.
Great. I want to highlight a couple of instances in the community where different groups have jumped in trying to help keep young athletes safe. And I just love to hear these kind of stories, and I want to highlight them because they go on a lot of times and they go unrecognized. And one of them occurred, we talked on this show a couple of months ago. We were at a national meeting about cooling athletes with heat illness. We've had a pretty hot early camp for high school athletes, and we talked a little bit about there were a few high schools, is the number one thing now with heat illness is to cool first and then transport, either in a tub or what's called a taco, surrounding the athlete with ice to bring their temperature down rapidly. But we have, of the schools we deal with, there were 4 schools that didn't have the ability to have a big tub or these cooling tacos. And shortly after that, we got word from some people, and the Children's Hospital Foundation put us in touch with a group that made a really generous donation, and it is from the family of Dr. Zuhair Yassin, and he is really a legend, was a legendary anatomy professor. Anybody who went to Neo-UCOM, which is now Neomed, for 30 or 40 years, the very much beloved anatomy professor that gave so much of his time in our community to every medical student that went through Neomed for 30 or 40 years was Dr. Yassin, and his family set up a support foundation grant and for sports medicine, orthopedics, for anything that would help people in the community. And we were able to use the monies from that grant to purchase for the 4 high schools that did not have these cooling devices available at their school, to purchase them for those 4 schools. And so I just really wanted to shout out to that group to make sure that, we had the appropriate, devices in town here at the school for cooling down athletes that were overheated. And we've had a year of overheating. And I want to put out one more hope that people are still thinking. Remember, if you have an athlete that came late, injured, sick, joined the team late, they're way behind everybody else as far as acclimatization. So keep an eye on those people, even though we're still having heat in August. But so far, so good. We're hanging in there, and a lot of it goes to people like the family of Dr. Yassin. And the other one I wanted to highlight, which was pretty cool for injury prevention with help from people in the community, was a device known as the MVP, the Most Virtual Player. And this is something we talked about on this show several years ago, and it's really kind of taken off all over the country. It started at Dartmouth. I think some other Ivy League schools picked up on it. Coach Buddy Stevens at Dartmouth. They came up with and designed a tackling dummy that is remote controlled. And this remote-controlled tackling dummy can move forward, backwards, cut, move at speeds of up to, I think, 18 miles an hour, and all remote-controlled. And at this time of year, so many people that need for the sport of football to learn how to tackle, but they were tackling each other, and we'd have a lot of injuries for the tackler or the ball carrier. And yet, if you were tackling or hitting a tackling dummy for all these years that wasn't moving, there's not much on the football field that's stable, that's not moving at all. And so this moving tackling dummy, none other than Ray Horner helped get Coach Brophy and the Manchester team involved and connected with Coach Stevens, and they were able to purchase them. We're up to, I think, about 40 colleges and 70 high schools in the country, the article talked about. But for about, I think, $3,800, getting one of these is really, really something that is helpful from the standpoint of injury prevention. This is the time of year we'd see a lot of broken bones and sprains and ACLs and other things with tackling. And here's the ability to learn that very important technique of tackling, but without hurting the tackler or the ball carrier. And so hats off to people in this community really stepping up to try to help keep kids safe in sports in both of those two areas. And I wanted to highlight those two things today, Ray.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, you're right. And talking with Coach Brophy, he said it's been just terrific to have that moving tackling dummy like the robot around the football field. And Joe, I think as this thing progresses and maybe costs come down, people in schools will recognize the importance of saving injuries and less impact on the kids. I expect to see more and more of these movable tackling robots around the high school and college football fields.
Yeah, so do I. And boy, it was some of the some of the quotes that the players said that I loved the most. I mean, they really enjoyed it. They really think it's helping their technique. They really think it's helping keep them safe, too. And so it was really great to see that they're pretty excited about having something different that's out there. And so I love when people are thinking outside the box to keep our athletes safe. And I wanted to highlight those two things and challenge people in the community. Let's keep doing things that we can do to keep athletes safe, because youth sports and high school sports is worth having around. We learn a lot of life lessons from youth sports, but we want to keep it safe. And thanks to everybody in the community that's thinking in the way of keeping kids healthy.
No doubt about it, Joe. As always, my friend, thanks for the time. We'll get back together next Wednesday.
Thanks, Ray. Have a great week.
You too. Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital, with us live this morning here on WAKR.